Okay, everything's recording. You do the intro and everything. Well, we'll let it be your show.
What?
Well, that's going to mess this whole thing up.
All right. First time ever. Welcome everybody to the next installment of No Driving Gloves. We've got a special guest this week, Tavis Highlander. For you of all that don't know Tavis, he is a world renowned artist. I can say that because he just got back from Dubai, by the way, and just become a really close friend of mine over the last, couple of years. We've been working together on a 1961 Impala that, if you go to No Driving Gloves Facebook page or Big Oaks Facebook, Instagram page, or even Tavis Facebook, Instagram page, you can see what we've been working together on. There's a lot more to come from that. So we were just kind of chatting the other day, and I was like, man, what about coming on the podcast? And Tay was like, sure, man, let's do it. So John and Derek agreed. So here we are. We got Tavis, we've got John, and we've got Derek. So believe it or not, there's actually four of us here this evening recording for you. So
room's a little bit crowded.
That's right. That's right. So anyway, Tavis, you want to kind of introduce yourself, and we'll start asking you some questions.
Yeah, sure. Well, thanks first off to you guys for having me on. I appreciate it. It's an honor to know that somebody would actually want to talk to me for more than just business reasons and getting some work done for them. So that's pretty cool. Basically, I'm basically a hot rod designer full time, which not a lot of people get to say, and it's a real treat. So I work out of my studio in my house, and basically I do renderings and sketches for cool cars all day long, all the time.
Nice, nice. Well, I'd like to kind of say how you and I got to know each other. Another good friend
Sure.
of mine, Robert McGaffin, was at the shop. And for you of y'all that don't know, Robert McGaffin Digital Photography is his business. He's actually a big part of the Wheel Hub magazine that's out. That's in my opinion, it's going to do nothing but grow and get bigger, especially since all the other magazines have basically been abolished, other than Hot Rod. So anyway, Robert was at the shop, and we were talking about this Impala, and I was complaining a little bit and about the situation I was in, about getting drawings and renderings and whatnot. And he was like, dude, you need to call Tavis. And I'm like, Tavis? And I'm like, oh, yeah, I follow that dude on Instagram, you know? So Robert highly recommended you. And, next thing I know, I pick up the phone, and I mean, it's like we've been working together for years, and we've worked together. I guess this is kind of like it was really our first project together, but since then we've done several more things together already. So, and we're still working on the Impala. It's been a fun process for sure. So that's how Tavis and I got to know each other. And I guess my first question for you is, how in the world did you get started in hot rod renderings?
Well, most kids, like in high school, when you turn your test over and then you start doodling on the back, I just kept doing that. And even art classes, they'd always tell you, stop drawing cars, all that kind of stuff. Even when I get to university, and my professors are telling me while I'm studying industrial design as a major, they're saying, you're probably not going to get into the automotive world and be able to work on cars, so just, keep focusing on products and stuff. And I I guess I'm just stubborn, and I just kept pushing forward. And even before I graduated, I met Steve Strope at a car show of Pure Vision Design. This was probably 2006, and the TLC show Rides had just come out, and he was featured on one of the episodes, and so I recognized him at this car show, and barely worked up the nerves. My dad had to kind of push me to go talk to him, and I showed him my portfolio, and he was encouraging, said, keep working on this. You got talent, just keep going. And before you know it, instead of having a traditional internship, when I was at university, I actually sent out flyers for my imaginary business of, designing hot rods. And lo and behold, Steve Strope was my first customer. He had a project, kind of a corporate giveaway car with a Guitar Center that we worked on together. And that just kind of set me up, having a client like that right off the bat that could open doors for you left and right as we kept working together. And so from there, he was tight with all the magazines. So pretty soon I'm doing, work for Hot Rod Magazine, every month, and a number of the other magazines. We're doing, corporate builds and promotional cars. And then he gets me, all those guys kind of link in with, other companies, and then just do a good job, and everybody spreads your name for you, and things just kind of take off from there. And that's, good word of mouth has done me well over the years.
Well, we say all the time on this show when we're talking is, it's a lot of word of mouth, and who kind of gets you places. I think that's why you have three little desperate guys here doing a podcast too. Just trying to get a name out there.
One of these days, we're going to meet somebody that can get us somewhere.
Well, you hear about guys that get a break and just go big instantly, but for 99% of people, it is a slow, arduous build that you enjoy doing something enough that you're willing to suffer for a while and to make it happen. And that's just what it is. You start out as the low man on the totem pole, and you start climbing to the top, and that's just how it goes.
Absolutely, man. I could imagine that was huge for you, getting to know Steve pretty on in your career. And for those that hadn't ever heard of Steve Strope, I need you need to look him up. I mean, he's one of the most well-known hot rod builders in the country, and has been for years. It's not like he just kind of caught lightning in a bottle with a couple of cars. I mean, he was Grand National Roadster Show Builder of the Year. Had his own TV show a couple different times. I mean, he's out there, and a cool cat.
He's
too,
one of the. Oh man, yeah, he's I'd say one of the most unique minds that I have worked with, and the design process that goes on in that guy's head is something else. You don't encounter that. That's he is intense, and the things he comes up with are unique, and it puts him in a little bit different spot than most hot rod builders. That's for sure.
Right. Now, did you work on Joe Rogan's Nova?
I did, yeah. That was another project with Strope, and man, that I listened to Rogan's podcast, pretty much every episode, and I have for years. And so when Steve told me that he was going to be building a Nova for him, I told him, man, oh man, I gotta work on that one for sure. And that was really cool, and be able to go down, and there was a party actually for unveiling the car in bare sheet metal after all the sheet metal work had been done, and they were actually filming it. I think for the last episode of Steve's TV series on Motor Trend, and actually got to meet Rogan. We hung out for half an hour or so, talking about Rogan type things. So like Bigfoot and
marijuana,
marijuana. Yeah.
UFC.
You got it.
Oh, so you can let the world know a little bit of information. Then again, you may not can. Do you know if that car is going to be at Grand National here coming up in the next couple of weeks?
I think I didn't go to the Grand National last year, but I think they brought it in bare metal last year. I don't think it's going to debut finished at Grand National this year.
Okay.
I know it's going to be a SEMA unveil eventually. I don't have official word on, but I would think from the progress of everything, I would be thinking that it would be this year for SEMA,
right?
2020 SEMA.
Right. Yeah, it's a very unique car, so you won't walk right by it. You'll have to stop and look at it for sure.
Is it called Pure Vision?
Yeah, that's the name of Steve's business, correct?
Okay, yeah, because I quickly Googled it, and Hot Rod did it was a year ago. They did a video on it, and there's a few things. So doesn't.
Okay, so
and it was.
I've got to ask a question here with Tavis. You talk about kind of your what projects you've worked on, stuff like that, but one of the things I like to do when, especially talking to younger kids, generations, trying to get them into any type of, part of the field or the hobby is, kind of like, I guess, and I'm even curious about it, is, when you're working with any of these guys, Joe Rogan, any of the different people you've been designing for, even when it's small jobs and, for things like Big Oak Garage or something, I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
Kind of how much liberty do you have with some of the design? How much do you work with the owners and the shops to really kind of get that rendering to where it needs to be for all ends of the job, so the shop, like Will and his guys and any of the shops you work with, can actually make that become a reality, and also just how much of it is kind of pleasing the customer and in how that rendering winds up looking.
Yeah, that's a good question, and every client is different, and I'd say probably my talent, maybe more so than being able to draw or design anything, is kind of analyzing what's going on in the mind of the client. And I can kind of, just by talking to people, and I've done enough projects now, I can kind of suss out, one, their abilities, two, their budget, things like that. And I can kind of put together a picture in my head ahead of time of, the lengths that they're willing to go to make something work. And, if I'm working with a shop, I'll go through and look at their past projects, talk to them about like what kind of equipment they have. And so I can kind of tell ahead of time, like when I started talking to Will and he was describing all the equipment they have, and I, go through their Instagram, look at things they've done. I know that I can design certain things and they can actually make those things happen. They know how to move sheet metal. Like, they could do anything, pretty much anything I can draw, they could make it out of sheet metal, within, certain parameters. And that's a really important thing to understand, because, you can draw anything, that's relatively easy, but understanding a little bit of, fabrication process, that's extremely important because you have to design for the processes. So if I know someone can machine stuff, I'll look through that and kind of see what they've done, and I can kind of design towards their abilities, but maybe with a little extra push in there that, we can kind of see if they can go ahead and actually make that happen. If they can't, that's fine. But, and even for myself, I kind of have an understanding of all the processes and the basics. I don't know how to do much of it myself, but I kind of know what goes into designing for those specific processes.
Very cool. Very cool.
So back when you were in high school, get off a little bit of let's get away from work a little bit. I'm sure you'd like to sit around at, 8, 9 o'clock, whatever it is. You're West Coast, so maybe 7 o'clock your time. Talking about work still, I try to get out of there. When I leave, I leave. Back when you were in, high school, junior high, you're right. I remember sitting around drawing cars and tracing cars because I really don't draw very well. Do you think there was a moment that you knew you really wanted to do? Is that where it clicked? What clicked that made you think that this could be a, career path? I know you talked about being in, the design classes and everybody telling you it's insurmountable and you'll never amount to anything in this career, which I think all of us have been told that at some point. What was that inspiration when you were younger that gave you the drive to continue to do it, or was it just to prove that professor wrong?
Well, my parents are both, entrepreneurs. So my dad built custom homes, and he would do, all the design work. And he'd work with the crew, and knew how to do a little bit of everything. And so seeing that, I knew that you can just make your own way in the world. As long as there's a market for what you do, you can make it happen. And then, boy, when I was about 12, I had to get a job to make some money, because I already had my eye on, what my first car was going to be. So I was going to have to start saving. And so my folks actually got me set up where I started building birdhouses and selling them at the local Saturday market. And I remember the first time I went there, I think I made $100 on a Saturday, and I was sold. That was it. It was like, oh my gosh, I can make money building stuff in the garage. This is great. And I actually did that through my first couple of years of college every summer. And I'd probably be making a lot more money if I would have just stuck with doing that stuff. But it's kind of a terrible thing to say, but
I think I did
really well doing that.
Any of us will sit here and say, we're not in it for the money. We're in it for the fun. I would rather have a good day at work than make a ton of money and, suffer through the pain. So.
Oh, exactly. And that's kind of how my life is now. I have something that I really want to push towards. And even as a kid that, doing that, garden art stuff and selling it, it kind of taught me, self-responsibility. I had to learn how to, how much product do I make before I go to a certain market. I had to interact with customers directly. I had a business license when I was 13 years old and, collecting sales tax and paying quarterlies, all that kind of stuff. But it taught me all that stuff early, and that you don't really have to follow rules. You don't have to get a traditional job if you don't want to. You can kind of make anything work as long as you're good at it and you work hard enough. So, and I'd always liked cars, and one of my first vehicles was a '53 Chevy truck, and that was my daily driver to high school, and I always loved working on it. And so I just thought, how do I, connect together my design sense and artistic abilities, and I like making things, and how do I put that all together? And that's how I kind of got towards the design and rendering part of it. And then also seeing kind of I really liked all the work of like, Tom Taylor, Steve Stanford. I followed all their stuff, and I saw just kind of an opening in the market. There weren't too many people doing it back then, and I thought I could kind of fill that gap, and it kind of worked out.
What do you feel? I've only looked at the website and that a little bit of stuff from Will. I think he's mentioned you over time, but really kind of did some research in that for this podcast. And what do you think, or what when you're looking at, say, the '69 Nova or the Impala of Will's or anything, and you begin to create that? Are you creating it with a trademark or a trademark type design, something that you kind of like to do? Are you doing it with input of the shop and the car owner? Or, what are your biggest influences in dictating that design, I guess, is half of my question. The other half of the question is, what do you feel kind of your trademark is? I'm going to say, when I think of Foose, I always think of tucking the bumpers in a little bit and kind of smoothing everything out. Or when I think of Boyd, I'm always thinking of, an exaggeration of the wheels or something. What dictates the style, and what do you try? What is your personalization, or what are you trying to be? Or what are you known for that you try to integrate into all of those styles and make the builder happy, the customer happy, and you happy? I mean, it's a lot of people to try to make happy.
Oh yeah. I don't necessarily think I have a total trademark characteristic or style that I've developed or anything yet. I think the thing that I do, and the thing I try and strive to do, is really try and meld myself into the process. What the builder's trying to accomplish, what the owner's trying to accomplish, I try to soak all that in, and then just kind of add what I can to, just kind of bring everything I can into the build that will help it out, but within the restraints of, you have to have the owner be happy, the builder has to build it, and they have to be happy. So I just kind of fill the gaps in, I feel like. And when there's opportunity for me to inject ideas, I go ahead and do that. And then it varies wildly from customer to customer. There's, some people, they basically have the whole thing in their head. They just want to see it put on paper, and all I have to do is kind of put the pieces together and make it look good. Other people, man, no clue what's going on. They don't know what direction. They've got a few ideas, and that's when it starts out with just a shotgun blast of ideas, and then I can kind of assess from there. Okay, what are they picking up on? What are the little characteristics that they like, and what gets them going? And then they find, okay, there's their alleyway. I'm going to go that direction and see what I can do. And sometimes there might be styles that, I personally don't care for. Like maybe this person wants something over the top, compared to what I think. But I also look at that as a challenge where, okay, this person's going to build this super over the top vehicle no matter what. It's going to happen. So, there's guys that like Lamborghinis, and there's guys that like Aston Martins. Two totally different styles. But if you're going to work on a Lamborghini, do the best you can with that styling and that design language. Don't try to turn the Lamborghini into an Aston Martin. So
right.
That's my kind of goal with everything, is do the best job for what that person wants. Don't try to turn it into, don't tell them your vision sucks for your car. Here's how I would do it. This is right. I'm God. You should listen.
Well, there's a but.
Try to not do that.
Right.
It's weird you just said that. Don't try to turn a Lamborghini into an Aston Martin. And I'm kind of scrolling Facebook and that as we're talking, looking for topic ideas. And literally the moment you said that, I came across a post on the Radwood page from 8 hours ago of a Fox body Mustang that's done up to look like a Ferrari F40.
I see that thing.
Woo! Yeah.
It's just, got to be careful what you try to build there. So.
That's right. That's right. Just, if there's a theme that started there, don't push it and strip it away from somebody. Try to go along with that essence and make it work if you can. And some gentle steering away from some ideas can be done, but just outright telling people to change the whole direction, that doesn't always work.
No, it
okay.
can get you fired.
Wait, let's go back to, because John said, earlier he was trying to take the conversation away from work, and of course it's going to come back to work because we're talking to you on the podcast because of the work you do. But back when you were flipping your tests over in high school and drawing cars on the back of doodling cars and all that, what were your inspirations at that time? Like what cars as a kid do you remember just being really passionate about? Like what did you see that just really got you into the car world?
Oh man, it was mainly all the local stuff at car shows and even in the high school parking lot. I mean, like my friend had a 63 Impala lowrider with green flames on it. My other friend had a big old Pontiac Bonneville. There was a second gen Camaro I remember a kid had, and just I kind of liked everything. And I'd always read like Street Rodder, Hot Rod, trucking. I've always been into trucks. So I did get inspired by some magazine cars, but it was mostly just kind of garage built stuff that I really, really looked up to. And the thing that got me obsessed, though, I remember I bought the book How to Draw Cars Like a Pro by Tom Taylor, and he was huge at that time. I mean, he was the guy. Him and Steve Stanford. That was it. Chip Foose was still working for Boyd at that time, I would think, and I remember going through that book and I think I did and redid every rendering that was in there, learning how to use markers, chalk, pastels, airbrush, pen and ink. I would dissect how they did their drawings and go back through and do my own versions to see how it would work. And then I would try that on my own cars, my own car drawings. And, there was digital rendering at that time, but I kind of learned how to do everything traditionally with, Prismacolor markers and pastels, like I said. And so those were really, it was kind of those guys' work that really got me captured into it and really kind of set me loose.
So going back to that, most of your stuff now is done digitally, correct?
Yeah. Yep. It's all kind of digital painting, CAD drawings, things like that.
Okay. But you could do it, I guess this may make some guys mad, but the kind of the old school way of doing things, where you really just sit down with a notebook and a piece of paper and go to town.
Yeah. And that's kind of how I learned to do stuff. The thing with digital is, I'm not worried about creating artwork per se. It's more creating a design tool to kind of lead us along the way for making decisions. So I'm not really worried about, making it a fine piece of art at the end of the day. And it's just way more efficient to do everything on the computer. If we want to try out different wheels, I don't have to redraw the entire, drawing again. And I can just draw new wheels. And
how many different colors have we done the Impala already?
A few.
there's at least 7 or 8 different colors that we've been kicking around, and so yeah, that makes it a lot easier changing colors and like wheels and trim. Oh, I can imagine. I mean, it's got to be way, way, way more efficient.
Oh yeah, it's a time saver, and it's like I said, it's just setting up a tool basically instead of trying to think about it as artwork. We're just kind of having a nice little way to be able to make decisions and get to a final product that is the car, not a piece of artwork.
Right.
I think I do the same thing. I've got a stack of iPads around in my Apple Pencil and doing some kind of contract writing and stuff this week where I built even the contract, and I just took everything from the Word file, threw it into another program so I could circle paragraphs and move everything around to where it belonged without, it was so much quicker than doing it in the proper program. And I think that's kind of, the artist rendition that's all hand drawn with, Prismacolor pencils, and that looks great. But I think the efficiency of, digital drawing and what like you said, what you can do in 18 different colors, and, Will over the next 52 weeks could have 52 different designs of his Impala a little bit, so nobody knows what's going to show up at what show or such. I'm a full supporter of everything digital. Yeah, I mean, I wish I could, like I said, I wish I could draw, but that's just not me.
Well, I've got to imagine one of the hardest things for you to do, Tavis, is, I can't draw nothing. I'm terrible at it. I always have been, and as long as you and I are friends, I always will be. Because why should I draw something when you can't? So, getting what's in my head into your head, which I know you and I, we work pretty daggum good together. I mean, we'll get on the internet together and get on the same websites and look at the same things, and I can kind of get my point across that way, so we're really on the same page. So I really can imagine that some guys you just really can't connect with, but you still got the job. You still got to get the job done, and really getting into their head and putting it on paper has got to be one of the toughest things in what you do for a living.
Oh man, yeah. And like I said before, there's such a wide variation of people, and there, sometimes guys will make me entire packets of, here's photo reference material, here's measurements, here's 4 pages of bulleted lists about details about the car that I have ideas for. And then other people, it's like, man, I want something really unique. And okay,
kind of like me with the interior on the Impala. I'm just like, dude, just throw it out there. Oh.
Well, you kind of make it. It's very easy to work with you because I know that I can kind of just say, hey, here's an idea or two for the door panels, like today or yesterday. I just kind of threw some at you, added a couple ideas. Yeah. What do you think? We can go back and we can butcher that idea up and redraw it and do whatever.
Right.
But I can just shoot that out there to you, see what you think, and be able to assess, yeah.
I'll say this, and this is tooting your horn here. So you and I and Tracy Weaver, we had a little meeting at SEMA, and we discussed the interior. And what we discussed was very loose. I mean, it was a certain kind of thing we were all looking for. but it was really, really, really loose. There was no straightforward, this is what we want, blah, 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 blah. And whenever I seen the door panel for the first time, in my mind, I'm like, dude, this is exactly what I was thinking, and I sent it to Tracy. You hadn't heard this, so this is going to be news to you. I sent it to Tracy, and Tracy was like, dude, there you go. This is the door panel design is there. The trim, the machine parts, done. So, that's to me, that's pretty impressive that you took something that loose and, dude, you nailed it the first time. So I'm sure it wasn't the first time that you drew it, but it was the first thing you sent to us.
Yeah, you don't have to see the other destroyed doodles. But but that means a ton to me, because both you and Tracy, you know what you're doing, and especially when I get to work with upholstery guys, and I work with a lot of them, you gotta throw them something that they can make, right, at the same time. And you got to know the difference between, French seam and a top stitch, and, all this stuff. Otherwise, nobody's gonna, they're not gonna want to work with you either if you just throw them stuff that's, they're like, well, you don't even understand the upholstery at all. And that's a real compliment when, guys that know what they're doing, you can just kind of meld in their little group with them and make something happen. And so I like hearing that.
So, hypothetical question for you here, Tavis. We like to talk about John's good friend Elon on the show a lot, and I'm just wondering when Will gets one of the cyber trucks in the shop and he's ready to, really get it really worked up the way Big Oak would do it. What would your vision be for how to make that truck? It's stylish. I don't know how much more you could do with it. What do you think?
Well, I know Will has a nice new paint booth, and that's just got bare stainless panels, right? So gotta sell somebody on a nice paint job on one of those, and see what it looks like actually painted up. I actually think that'd be pretty cool looking if that thing was just done up in satin battleship gray or black, glossy black. As they stand, they are somewhat underwhelming on the
you can
aesthetic
say
side.
They're butt ugly. Terrible.
I think it's cool that I think it's extremely cool that he has the balls to just do that and just throw it out there. But at the same time, man, you could do even more with just some straight panels.
Hey,
that's for sure.
I'm going to say, I'm just going to say it gives me hope because, as we've all commented on the show before, I think all of us that have extreme artistic talent drew that when we were in, middle school.
Oh,
so
yeah,
it gives me hope that I could be a car designer.
Oh yeah, there's only 5 lines you have to draw for the side profile, so you're golden.
I'll tell you what needs to be done with that thing. Bring it to Big Oak, and we will buy a C10 Chevrolet truck. We'll put a big block Chevrolet in it, and then we'll just roll it out, and we'll just say we converted this Tesla into this. And we'll just put the Tesla in the pond.
Just LS swap it and get it over with.
Yeah.
LS swap it.
No, see, that's too efficient. You got to put a gas guzzling big block in it, carburetor, 2 4s.
Yeah, LS is too high tech. Man.
Right, with a 700 R4, so it gets even worse gas mileage.
Oh yeah, exactly.
We'll go ahead and lift it and put some 44s on it too.
Oh, you got it, man. Oh man, super swampers. There you go.
That's right, boggers. Oh,
boggers. Oh man, I've got a friend that I think Elon is his worst enemy. Man, you get him going on government funding. That guy is just collecting left and right. Man, you can't get my friend stopped off of that topic and how much he despises that, and how much of a sham electric cars are. And man,
we need to get him on the podcast.
Yeah. I thought you said family friendly. That might be a problem.
I would just listen. Him and John would just go at each other. John's a fan of Elon.
Oh man,
I don't know if I'm necessarily a fan of Elon.
Well, you like talking about him a lot.
Just best friends.
Hey, you weren't at lunch with me Saturday morning with the 3 other Tesla owners, and I took the other side of the fence there and kind of criticized and questioned and asked, and it's so funny to listen to the Tesla cult. Oh, this is what he's doing, and this is what he's doing, and this is what he's doing, and okay, you're the one whose car accosted you on the way to the restaurant. We were walking by his. He had an X, and he was walking by, and his car door opened into him and tripped him. Because he had the proximity summon thing or whatever. But yeah, and
they do a lot of cool stuff. But it's, man, oh man, I totally understand the balanced argument on the other side too, of people when they want to be efficient, for the environment, you got to look at product life cycles and everything. I mean, how everything starts as a product and how it finishes as a product. So being efficient could maybe mean getting the 1970s pickup truck, fixing it up, and keeping it on the road for 50, 60 years versus buying a new plastic thingamajig crossover sport utility vehicle that's loaded with, lithium-ion batteries or whatever. You got to look at that entire product life cycle. It's not just, I don't put gas in this. That makes it incredible. And I think a lot of people gloss over that. And that's an important step. So people need to think about that too.
That was a 5-minute conversation on the cigar podcast I listened to, because the guy that owns the shop and does the podcast and has all the money, he just got rid of his Escalade for a Tesla, and they were giving him a hard time on how much he's increased his
carbon footprint.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's so true. I mean, this is why I want to get to the point where I'm driving the antique cars more often than any of my other cars. So, because I think that's true in all of our everything we do. Like John, like you're saying, I mean, I was listening to I think it was a podcast the other day that happened to be on, probably one of the NPR ones anyway, but it was talking about how much more truly efficient it is to, buy used items, repurpose them, things like, I mean, and I know John and Will know this, I'm sitting at a 1930s, 30s, late 30s, early 40s flip top secretary that I bought online off of Facebook Messenger for $40, made the couple of wood repairs it needed, And I like antiques, but it's real wood, it's solid wood. I'm keeping it, from going to the junkyard or to the trash heap, and I'm not buying a cheap presswood new desk that has all the chemicals in it and is just going to fall apart in a few years and have to go in the trash. It's really more efficient to repurpose and reuse things in a lot of cases than it is to go out and buy these new plastic, throwaway. That's what it was about, throwaway culture. That's what it was, and that's what we're moving to, even with our cars. And it's true. It's more efficient a lot of times to keep something old running than it is to just go out and buy something new.
It's more efficient on your wallet.
Absolutely.
Too.
Yeah, I agree, Will.
Well, there we go. We got it completely away from work for.
That's what we're here to
do. There's no telling where it's going to go. No telling where it's going to go.
But see, the great thing there is go out, buy an old, square body Chevy truck or, some old vehicle, get a hold of Will, get a hold of Tavis and have them design something up for you, repurpose it, start using it. Boom, efficiency.
But if you took that square body and you took a Tesla Model S and took the body off of it and put that square body on there, think of how low and quiet it would be.
Shut up.
Yeah, I guess. Have you heard about how terrible they are with people working on their own Teslas though? Like they lock you out of all the systems, and I guess there's a guy on YouTube. Have you heard about him? He fixes his own, and he fixed up a salvage Tesla and did it all himself. There's the true heroes out there that are saying, screw you to the man, and gets out there and just hacks into all the systems and makes it work.
The thinking, though, I think, I guess my feeling on that is if Tesla didn't want people to do that, they wouldn't let them. There's a story, and I can't remember who was telling it. I don't know if it was Ed Bolin or one of the guys that does the C2C or coast-to-coast racing and that. Somebody was trying to do the coast-to-coast record in a Tesla. And as he started to get to St. Louis, and he was going California to New York as opposed to the other way, was about the time he started to get to St. Louis, he all of a sudden started having charging problems for the next 2 or 3 charge stations. That's, slowed him down, and he wasn't going to make the record. And he kind of believes that Tesla was doing something, they were monitoring his car, saw the speed he was carrying, did not want the publicity of that. So they, slowed him down with their control. And, I'm a closet conspiracy theorist, so I'll go both sides. I like a lot about Tesla. I like talking the conspiracy theory about Tesla. We'll see what happens, and it's not to say that Porsche's not going to do the same thing with the Taycan, and Mercedes isn't going to do the same thing with theirs, and Jaguar's not going to do the same thing with the E-Pace. And so, there's all these over-the-air type updates. We've even talked about on the show about how I used to have a friend who was huge into General Motors, and he believes that when you buy an early car or your car goes in for the first service, they actually flash your ECU and detune it a little bit from new. He had a really early ZR1 and a really early CTS-V and things, and the horsepower numbers changed before his first oil change and after his first oil change on a couple of his cars, and he just kind of believes that. So I guess this computer detuning could be every car manufacturer, not just pointing the finger at Tesla. See how save it so we don't get sued?
Since we're talking to an automotive designer and electric vehicles, Tavis, what do you think about the new electric Mustang?
Ooh.
Come on, you can be honest.
Yeah. So when you look at the vehicle, there's nothing wrong with it. The only thing wrong with it is whoever's handling marketing, branding, whatever. Why would you associate with the Mustang name? It makes no sense to me. It makes no sense. It's like, okay, you guys you want to launch an electric vehicle? Let's take our, performance flagship, and put that name with it while we're also producing gas ones. And it's not even, it's too confusing for anybody that knows anything about cars. You just get baffled, don't you?
Did you happen to listen to our show when reviewing the podcast where we discussed that?
No.
We thought it was a brilliant idea other than what you just said. And we ended up, because at the time I owned a certain Ford product, and I'm going, from these angles, this is what it should have been named. And
yeah, we come up with our own name.
Yeah, we felt it should be the Ford Taurus shoe.
I thought it was it was the STD.
No, it was
dear.
Or the Taurus shoe or the Taurus showy.
Oh Lord. I figured you and I were on the same page with that one. I mean, come on. You just took the Mustang. Oh, well, I mean, I guess they've kind of done this before with the Mustang too. I mean, that car was a turd.
Yeah, but they didn't sell a high performance version next to it. And yes, I know they sold the Cobra too.
The Mustang 2 was the only.
Right. And you're right, but they're dragging the name through the mud, man.
Throw the Mustang out of it. But
that's what most Mustang drivers do, is run them through the mud. So they can't keep them on the street.
Especially if there's a crowd around.
Trying to get him
exactly.
They're trying to get him to hop curves easier and quieter. Now they can sneak up on the crowd.
Yeah, well, it's got some. Yeah, it's got more ground clearance, and I mean that's going to help, so they can recover maybe after they run up on after cars and coffee. They can.
Maybe that's what Ford was really thinking.
I can't.
We gotta help these guys out.
What podcast was I listening to? I was seeing something where Ford, maybe it was a Shift and Steer with Matt D'Andrea, and he was talking about Ford's not very pleased with all this negative or publicity about the Mustang and it having the tendency to kill people at car shows.
Yeah.
Oh.
Again, that's a marketing problem because they're marketing these cars to people who can't drive them. So,
yeah, you're absolutely right.
Let's throw the Mustang out of this and not pick on it again. What do you think as a designer of this? I mean, we'll even go back as far as the Cayenne and these sports car manufacturers going to SUVs and that. Do you think an SUV is a cool design and will have its become popular? Or I guess, what do you see as the future for the SUV and the car enthusiast?
Oh man, well they're slowly creeping in and just killing everything. I mean, they're not going to make Ford Fusions anymore. They're just going to start axing all of these regular sedans.
They're still making Fusions because I bought one to replace the SHO because they don't make the SHO.
Yeah, but I think I saw today that they announced they're not going to make them within a few years, though.
I believe that.
And it's just going to... Yeah, I mean, it's just this eventual creep of, little crossover utility vehicles taking over everything because people believe that they have more space in them and that they need that to put their golden doodle in the back of to drive to Whole Foods.
Hey, easy on the golden doodle.
Yeah, quit picking on Will.
Oh, okay, I was trying.
And the Whole Foods. That's the only place Will shops.
if there was one close, if there was one close, I might go.
But Will jogs to the Whole Foods as opposed to drive his Golden Doodle.
Yeah. As I'm turning up my Miller High Life right here.
I know you're super classy, Will. I'm.
All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead with the Golden Doodles.
Oh no, that's no problem. I am not a big SUV person, and I think if you want an SUV, especially like when you start looking at this premium stuff, like Aston Martin now has, their own SUV, and I think it's, 150, 175,000, something like that. But it's just like a kidney bean suppository shape like the rest of them. It's not. They're never going to be sexy. I mean, it's the proportions that you're dealing with. So, I mean, if you're going to get an SUV and you want to spend that much money, just go get a Range Rover. That's my opinion on it. And if you want something sexy, don't go buy the Jaguar, F-Pace SUV that is, just looks like a bloated sedan or a bloated wagon. Go get the big, comfy, Jag sedan. Just get that. You don't need the other space. You got that much money to spend on a car. Buy a truck and buy the big comfy sedan that actually rides better, doesn't have a high roll center. All this stuff is just going to be better all the way around, and it's going to look better too. But that's just my take. If you're going to go SUV, go full SUV, or don't.
So you kind of like real SUVs, but not a big fan of the sport crossover market.
Yeah, and that's what seems to be dominating now so much. I mean,
right.
It was like Mazda. I think it was just today or yesterday they announced they're coming out with another SUV to go in between the 3 and the 5 that they have right now, and it's like, why do you need another one in between there? And it's just mind blowing to me. And I like extremes though. I like if you're a family man and you want full practicality, then just get a van. Who cares?
Yay.
But then don't try to don't try to.
Now we're moving into the van conversation.
Yeah, but John, you technically don't have any
Hot
kids,
topic.
And you like vans. That's creepy.
Oh,
what? I just
that's a
drove
little
white,
creepy.
White Transit Connect cargo van. Nothing bad's ever come of a guy driving around in a white van with no windows.
The fewer the windows.
Yeah, you never call those guys in.
Oh Lord.
That's the kind of thing with me though. I think people want to have a car that does everything. I can put the kids in there. I can have some cargo room. It still looks kind of sporty. I want a Swiss Army knife. Yeah.
Well, I'll
that's
say,
right.
I'll give my stepsister credit right here. She contacted me a couple of weeks ago, and they were looking to get rid of their Caravan, and she's in her 30s. I guess it's probably wrong to say how old she really is, and she's owned 2 cars in her life, as opposed to me, who's well over 50, and not that 10 years older than her. But she, said, we want something. We want 3 rows of seating. They've got 2 kids. And then when the kids have friends, they kind of need 3 rows of seating. And I said, well, you've got the best thing on, the market. You just need to buy another van. And she goes, that's what I thought. And 2-3 days later, they bought a new Pacifica because she realizes, and I think my dad taught it to both of us, that, a minivan is so damn practical in so many different ways. Except I think they're just uncool, much like the station wagon was uncool to my generation. I'm in my late 40s, Tavis, if that helps. It was uncool to my generation, and now all of a sudden it's the coolest thing under the sun. And And I've seen a couple of the Cadillac CTS wagons in the last couple of days, and that's still a pretty good looking car. So.
Yeah. I mean, that's my thing. It's like go full in the direction that you need something for. It's like if you need practical, like you said, man, just get the van. Who cares? But then on the side, have a full out crazy muscle car sitting in the garage that gets your blood pumping. Instead of trying to get something that does a little bit of everything, but doesn't quite do anything that you really want.
That was our driveway.
I will say this, Tammy, my wife has a Yukon with the 6.2 in it, and that thing's pretty fun to drive.
No, I can imagine. Yeah,
that's all we have in our garages right now is SUVs. I have a 97 two-door, two-wheel drive Tahoe, and my wife has a new Yukon.
I can't remember. Were you driving an SUV the first year I met you, Will, or did you get that the second year? I can't remember. Did you start with the Impala Caprice and go to the Blazer, or did you go from the Blazer to
I had the Blazer first. I still have that. Yeah. I drove a K5 two-wheel drive, two-door. Well, they were all two doors. K5 Blazer to high school, and then I drove it my first year to McPherson in college. Of course, it was lowered with, at the time, Americans, and it was a pretty neat vehicle. Still got it.
It'd still be stylish today in the lowered truck circles.
Dude, square body, two-wheel drive, K5s are, that's the hen's tooth of square bodies. And that just happened to be my first vehicle that I ever owned. So, I mean,
They're also, what's the next generation, the 88 and newers? I can't remember what the term for
OBS.
The two-wheel drive Blazer there's a fair rare commodity too.
Well, that's what I drive every day.
So
lowered with Americans. Imagine that, right?
So wait, we're talking about what we drive. I mean, this is where
I bet Tavis got a van because he was like not dogging on.
Yeah, that's where I was going. And I don't know why I stopped. Yeah, what does Tavis drive here? What is in his garage?
Oh well, I was when we were shopping for a family car. I was like, man, we should just go full van, just get that. My wife said, no way. So what do we have? We've got a 3-row crossover SUV. Isn't that fun? Why do you think I'm so adamant against those? Because I know the pain.
He can't vent. He can't vent at home about this, so he's venting to us about this.
Well,
my wife is totally baffled by my logic. So that's
my fiance cannot understand my infatuation with vans. She reluctantly let me get the Transit Connect when I had it, and my ex-wife didn't understand my love for vans, and I had a Caravan and a Voyager and a
ex-wife
Dodge 3500 cargo van, extended, one of the really long ones. We actually bought a Dodge conversion van. So, I've had my fair share of vans. I just kind of, I love them. So.
Yeah, I tried to go the station wagon route because I love that, and I was like, man, a CTSV Cadillac wagon with a 6-speed. Oh my goodness, that's the perfect family car to me.
Oh, I agree. We did the whole crossover thing for a little while, and I was driving it one day, and I was like, "Do you like this car, Tammy?" And she goes, "No, I hate it." And I'm like, "Good." That day we got rid of it. That's all it took, So anyway, well, hey, Tavis, man, we can't thank you enough for joining us. We've been going for about an hour now, and that's where we kind of like to call it quits. So thank you for being on. I think it almost feels like we need a round 2 with Tavis already. So,
well, maybe. I think once we make it bigger on the podcast, we start bringing in some discretionary funds for the program. Maybe we'll have to have Tavis design the No Driving Gloves minivan.
No, man.
Oh
man.
I'm kind of jealous of the fiance's new car, so maybe we just need him to liven up my Fusion.
Hey, I listened to the last episode, and I just want to say I know it's a huge letdown that I'm not Chris Jacobs. And I'm definitely not. I'm not AJ. So
but do you have a calendar?
I apologize for that.
I listen to a woodworking podcast.
I don't.
And the guy does a calendar every year where he's nude. 12 months of him nude. I mean, it seems to work for him. Strategic photos.
Well, that's.
We will never do that
you put
for No Driving Gloves.
Planer here, or you hang the skill saw there and tool belt just right, and you can.
You could do it with a large diameter drafting pencil, we'll say, or.
Oh man.
I mean, really large diameter. I'm trying to be nice.
I was thinking of
a yardstick.
Oh, maybe even the cord off your skill saw.
Oh man.
I'm thinking maybe a strategically held micrometer.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I have worked with AJ's husband. That's about as close as it gets. So, we did a TV show together. So that's see, you got your how many degrees of separation here? So it kind of works. So
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Tavis. This has been fun. I think it was a great conversation, and look forward to hanging out with you here in a couple of weeks at Grand National Roadster Show. So, for you guys that are listening that are going to be at Grand National Roadster Show, Big Oak Garage is going to have a booth in Building 4, and Tavis is actually going to be having a booth in Building 6. So, put a face with the name and come out and see us and check out, Tavis's work. We're actually going to have the Impala there in bare metal, so you can check out our metal work. You can check out Tavis's design work and talk to us in person. So if you're going to be in the area, make sure you come by and say hello and pick up a t-shirt or whatever.
So we might go ahead and try to get Will some No Driving Glove stickers too. So you come up and mention the podcast, he'll give you a sticker.
There you go.
Yeah, hey, we got to get him there somehow.
Heck yeah.
So with that, Will started it. When he decides it's over, it's over.
Well, you know what? It's over.
Hang glider.
I'm out.
Wait, guys, we haven't talked about any Zambonis yet tonight.
and how that would be styled in a hot rod fashion?
Yes.
They're already pretty low to the ground. I don't know what I'd do.
There's some movie or episode of The Simpsons or something that had a hot rod one with like side pipes or something. But there, episode 2 with Tavis, that'll be it. We'll start with the hot rod Zamboni discussion.
Hot Zamboni talk.
But I'm out of here for the night, guys.
Nice.
I'll talk to you later.
All right, thanks, guys.
Zamboni.